Just another morning for Lena, the quiet cleaner everyone ignored. But beneath her humble uniform and downcast eyes was a mind sharper than most could ever imagine. A heated conversation erupted near the front desk. Two businessmen, their suits immaculate, were gesturing wildly, their voices loud and tense. Lena's ears caught the familiar sound of a foreign language, Italian. They struggled, unable to communicate with the receptionist, who looked utterly helpless. "Please, someone who speaks Italian." One of them barked in frustration. Lena's heart raced. She hesitated, her hand gripping the cleaning cloth. It wasn't her place. A cleaner should be invisible, silent. That's what she was told from day one. But watching the panic grow, she couldn't stand by. Taking a deep breath, Lena stepped forward. In perfect, fluent Italian, she addressed the businessman, "Mi scusi, come posso aiutarvi?" "Excuse me, how can I help you?" Both men's faces lit up with relief. They quickly explained their problem, and Lena effortlessly translated, guiding them through the confusion. The receptionist stared in shock, but the businessman's gratitude was clear. "Thank you so much," they exclaimed as they hurried away, but Lena's moment of quiet triumph was short-lived. From behind a column, a tall figure emerged, the CEO of Everest Tower, Mr. Grant. His sharp, calculating eyes were locked on Lena. "You," his voice was calm but commanding, "in my office. Now." Lena's heart plummeted. Had she just made the biggest mistake of her life? Lena's feet felt like lead as she followed Mr. Grant down the pristine, glass-walled corridor of Everest Tower. Her mind raced, thoughts colliding like crashing waves. Why had she spoken up? Had she overstepped? Was this the end of her job? The hum of the air conditioning seemed louder than ever, a cold reminder of the towering authority she now faced. Grant's office was a world apart from the lobby she knew. Floor-to-ceiling windows bathed the room in sunlight, and sleek leather chairs sat beside a polished mahogany desk. Mr. Grant stood by the window, his back to her, hands clasped behind him. "Sit," he instructed without turning. Lena sank into the chair, her fingers nervously twisting the edge of her cleaning apron. Silence stretched for a painful moment before Mr. Grant spoke again. "I thought you were a cleaner," he began, his voice steady, measured. "I am, sir," Lena whispered, "and yet, you spoke fluent Italian out there. Not just a few words, a full conversation. How many languages do you speak?" He finally turned, his sharp gaze piercing. Lena swallowed, her voice barely above a whisper. "9, sir." "9?" The surprise in his voice was unmistakable. "And no one knew?" Lena's eyes fell to her lap. "No one asked." Mr. Grant's expression shifted, curiosity mixing with something else. "Respect?" He leaned against his desk, crossing his arms. "Why are you working as a cleaner, Lena? With skills like yours, you could do so much more." She looked up, her eyes steady despite her fear. "Because I needed a job that let me work nights. I take care of my younger brother. I can't afford to dream." Silence filled the room again, but it felt different now, thoughtful, not cold. Mr. Grant straightened, his voice softer. "Wait here." He stepped out of the office, leaving Lena alone, her heartbeat a steady drum in her ears. What was happening? Was this the beginning of something new, or the end of everything? Lena sat motionless, her hands gripping the sides of the chair. The sleek office around her felt like another world, one she didn't belong to. Her mind raced with 1,000 worries. Was she about to be fired? Would her daring moment of courage cost her the job she needed? The door swung open, and Mr. Grant stepped back in, followed by another man, Mr. Hayes, the Director of Human Resources. His expression was unreadable, his sharp suit and clipboard making him seem even more imposing. "Lena," Mr. Grant began, his voice calm but firm, "I just learned that you've been working here for nearly 3 years. Always punctual, always diligent. Is that correct?" "Yes, sir," Lena replied, forcing her voice to remain steady. Mr. Hayes glanced at his notes. "Your record is clean. No complaints. Yet, you possess an extraordinary skill, 9 languages. That's impressive. He adjusted his glasses. Why haven't you mentioned this to anyone? Lena hesitated, her fingers nervously intertwining. I didn't think it mattered. I was hired to clean, not to speak. Mr. Grant's lips curved slightly, almost a smile. A mistake on our part, it seems. He stepped forward, his tone growing more direct. Lena, Everest Tower is a luxury destination. Our guests come from all over the world. And yet, we struggle with multilingual support, a problem you just proved you can solve. Lena's breath caught. Was this a compliment? Or a setup for something else? I want you to become part of our guest relations team, Mr. Grant continued. Your language skills are an asset we cannot ignore. You will assist with international guests and help resolve any language barriers they face. Lena's eyes widened. You mean I won't be a cleaner anymore? Not if you accept the offer, Mr. Hayes interjected, a rare smile breaking his stern expression. We'll also discuss a salary adjustment. Lena felt her heart soar and sink at the same time. A better job. More money. But could she handle this sudden change? What would her colleagues think? Was this really happening? Do you accept, Lena? Mr. Grant's voice was patient but expectant. Yes. Yes, I do, she whispered, disbelief and excitement swirling within her. Excellent, Mr. Grant nodded. Report tomorrow in professional attire. Welcome to a new chapter, Lena. But as Lena stood to leave, she couldn't help but wonder, was this a blessing, or a trap? Lena stepped out of the grand office, her mind spinning with disbelief. The gleaming hallway felt surreal. She was no longer just a cleaner. Tomorrow, she would step into the role of a guest relations officer. But as her excitement bloomed, so did a creeping sense of fear. Whispers seemed to follow her the moment she returned to the staff area. A few of her colleagues exchanged glances, their quiet murmurs like faint, stinging needles. Did you hear? The cleaner thinks she's management now, one voice muttered. Must have done something to get the boss's attention, another whispered, a hint of spite in her tone. Lena kept her head down, her hands trembling slightly as she stuffed her cleaning supplies into her locker. She didn't expect everyone to understand, but the bitterness in their words stung. She thought of explaining, but would they even believe her? Or would it just make things worse? Her friend Maria, another cleaner with kind eyes and a warm smile, approached. Lena, is it true? You're joining guest relations? Lena forced a smile. Yes. I guess I am. Maria's face lit up. That's amazing. You deserve this. Don't listen to them. They're just jealous. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just not meant for this, Lena whispered, her doubts gnawing at her. The rest of her shift dragged on, each passing minute thick with tension. Even some of the supervisors eyed her differently, as though she'd broken some unspoken rule. That night, Lena returned to her tiny apartment, her younger brother, Leo, waiting with his homework spread across the kitchen table. Lena. You're home. Can you help me with my math? He beamed, his innocent smile a soothing balm. She forced a smile, her heart lightening. Of course, Leo. But even as she helped him solve equations, her mind was clouded. Would this new role really be a fresh start? Or would it paint a target on her back? The quiet hostility she felt from her colleagues was just the beginning. And something told her that tomorrow, stepping into her new position, would be even more challenging. The next morning, Lena stood in front of her tiny, cracked mirror, adjusting the crisp, navy blue blazer that Maria had lent her. It wasn't new, but it fit well enough. Her heart pounded as she smoothed her neatly tied hair. This was the first time she would step into Everest Tower not as a cleaner but as a guest relations officer. Yet behind her reflection, she could still see the shadow of the silent girl who mopped floors. Lena, you look amazing. Leo cheered from the kitchen, munching on toast. Are you a boss now? She laughed, though nerves gnawed at her. Not a boss, Leo, just helping guests. Like you helped me with math, he beamed. His innocent encouragement gave her strength. She hugged him tight. Exactly. I'll see you tonight, okay? As she entered the grand lobby, the familiar marble floors shimmered beneath her. But this time, Lena wasn't carrying a mop, she carried a sleek tablet, her new work tool. The receptionist, who once dismissed her without a second glance, now nodded with a polite smile. But not all faces were so welcoming. A few of her former colleagues, still in their cleaning uniforms, whispered and cast glances her way. Some looked surprised, others resentful. Lena's chest tightened, but she forced herself to breathe. She couldn't let them define her. Lena, over here, called a clear, steady voice. Mr. Grant stood beside a tall, silver-haired woman in a sophisticated suit. This is Ms. Carter, our head of international relations. She'll guide you today. Ms. Carter's sharp eyes scanned Lena from head to toe, her expression unreadable. Welcome, Lena. I've heard interesting things about you. Lena wasn't sure how to respond, so she simply smiled. Thank you. I'm eager to learn. Good. Because here, you either adapt quickly, or you get replaced, Miss Carter stated, her voice firm but not unkind. Throughout the morning, Lena followed Miss Carter, watching her handle foreign guests with flawless ease. German, Mandarin, French, Miss Carter was a master, but as the hours passed, she began letting Lena take the lead, and each time, Lena's fluency and calm demeanor stunned the guests, but not everyone was impressed. From the upper mezzanine, Garrett, a senior manager with a reputation for arrogance, watched with a cold smile. The cleaner thinks she's a diplomat now, he muttered to another executive. This will be interesting. And so, Lena's first day began filled with smiles, silent daggers, and the feeling of walking on a tightrope. The next few days were a whirlwind for Lena. Miss Carter was a demanding mentor, her expectations sharp and unyielding. Lena shadowed her, absorbing everything: how to resolve guest complaints, manage cultural differences, and navigate delicate situations with grace. But no matter how well she performed, Lena could feel the weight of skeptical eyes following her. Garrett, the senior manager who had watched her from the mezzanine, seemed to take a particular interest in her. Every time Lena handled a guest flawlessly, he appeared nearby, watching with that same cold smile. At first, she thought it was just her imagination. But soon, his silent judgment turned into subtle challenges. Lena, Garrett called out one afternoon, gesturing for her to join him in his glass-walled office. I need you to handle a complaint from our Russian clients. They're upset with their room allocation. Lena's pulse quickened. Russian wasn't one of her strongest languages, but she nodded. Of course, sir. But when she arrived, she found the situation was much more complicated. The clients weren't just upset, they were furious, claiming they had been promised a suite with a view but were given a standard room. Lena apologized, listening carefully, then spoke in her best Russian, calmly explaining the situation and offering them an upgraded room with complimentary amenities. Her respectful approach gradually eased their anger. By the time she returned to Garrett's office, he barely glanced at her. Handled it, I assume, he muttered, barely hiding his disappointment. Yes, sir, Lena replied, maintaining her composure. But as she turned to leave, she caught a glimpse of his screen, an email with her name in the subject line. Her heart skipped. Was Garrett trying to discredit her? Later that evening, she found herself alone in the staff lounge, exhaustion pressing down on her. Maria appeared with 2 steaming cups of coffee. You look like you've seen a ghost, Lena. I think someone's trying to make me fail, Lena whispered, her voice shaking slightly. Garrett, he's watching me, testing me. Of course he is, Maria said, her tone serious. You're a threat to his little kingdom. But you can't let him see you scared. They smell fear like wolves. Lena managed a weak smile, her friend's words giving her strength. But as she returned to the lobby, she saw Garrett speaking to Ms. Carter, his gestures animated, his expression serious. Were they discussing her? Were they planning something? Lena knew she needed to be perfect, no mistakes, no hesitation. But in a world where power was everything, even perfection might not be enough. Lena's days at Everest Tower became a delicate dance on the surface. She was thriving assisting international guests, switching languages with ease, and even receiving compliments from grateful visitors, but beneath the polished facade, a quiet storm was brewing. Garrett's interference grew bolder. He would assign her complex tasks at the last minute, redirect her to confused guests with no context, and even forget to inform her about important meetings. Lena began to feel as though she was constantly putting out fires, but the true blow came one Thursday morning. Lena was preparing a welcome package for a high-profile Japanese delegation when her tablet suddenly displayed an error. An incorrect itinerary had been sent to their rooms. Panic shot through her. How did this happen? She whispered, frantically checking the files. Everything had been correct when she reviewed it. Just then, Garrett appeared, his voice dripping with feigned sympathy. Trouble already, Lena? You know, mistakes like this can cost us clients. I didn't make a mistake, Lena insisted, her voice steady, though her heart raced. The document was changed. Garrett's smile never reached his eyes. Really? Or maybe you're just overwhelmed, trying to do a job beyond your skill level. Lena clenched her fists, anger bubbling beneath her calm exterior. But she forced herself to breathe. I'll fix it. Rushing to the guest rooms, she apologized to the Japanese delegates in perfect Japanese, explaining that there was a minor error. Her humility and professionalism eased their irritation. Within minutes, she had their correct itinerary printed and delivered, but as she returned to the lobby, she saw Garrett speaking with Ms. Carter, his voice low, his expression smug. Lena's chest tightened. He was reporting her. That evening, as she sat in the dim light of her small apartment, Leo played quietly nearby. But Lena couldn't focus. A sense of helplessness gnawed at her. Was this how it would end? Her skills buried beneath lies and manipulation, but as she stared at her reflection in the dark window, a spark of defiance stirred. No. She wouldn't let someone else decide her fate. The next morning, Lena arrived early. While others were still clocking in, she accessed the guest records and traced the changes made to the itinerary. Her heart raced when she discovered it, an unauthorized login. And it wasn't hers. She printed the proof, her hands shaking. Garrett wasn't just trying to make her look incompetent, he was actively sabotaging her, but now, she had proof. The question was, would anyone believe her? Lena's pulse hammered as she stood outside Mr. Grant's office, the printed proof clutched in her trembling hands. Her mind raced with doubts. What if he didn't believe her? What if this made everything worse? But beneath the fear, a steely resolve grew. She couldn't let Garrett destroy her. Taking a deep breath, she knocked. Come in, Mr. Grant's voice called. She entered, finding Mr. Grant reviewing some documents that he looked up, his expression neutral. Lena, something wrong? Sir, I need to talk to you. About Garrett, she began, carefully choosing her words. I have reason to believe he's been sabotaging my work at MR. Grant's eyebrows rose slightly, but he didn't interrupt. Lena stepped forward, placing the printed documents on his desk. Yesterday, the Japanese delegation received an incorrect itinerary. I checked the system. Someone accessed the file and altered it without authorization. This is the access log, and it traces back to Garrett's profile. Silence stretched between them. Mr. Grant's gaze shifted from the papers to Lena's determined eyes. This is a serious accusation, Lena. I know, sir. But I also know I'm not the only one he's targeted. Lena's voice grew steadier. He's been trying to discredit me ever since I was promoted. I've tried to stay quiet, to just work harder, but I can't let this continue. Mr. Grant leaned back, his fingers steepled. Garrett has been with this company for years. He has influence, allies. Taking this to the next level won't be simple. I understand, Lena replied, her voice unwavering. But I'm not asking for a favor. I'm asking for fairness. Mr. Grant stared at her for a long moment, then pressed a button on his phone. Ms. Carter, please come to my office. And bring Garrett. Lena's heart skipped. Garrett was being called in now? Her breath quickened. Was she ready for this confrontation? Moments later, the door opened, and Garrett strode in, a confident smile on his face, until he saw Lena standing beside Mr. Grant's desk. "Sir?" Garrett began, his tone cautious. "Garrett, Lena has brought a serious issue to my attention," Mr. Grant said, his voice cold. "One that directly involves you." Lena forced herself to meet Garrett's gaze. His smile flickered, but his expression remained calm. "Really? And what would that be?" Mr. Grant slid the printed documents across the desk. "Tampering with client files. Specifically, using your login credentials to alter a guest's itinerary without authorization." Garrett's face paled slightly, but he quickly recovered, letting out a dry laugh. "That's ridiculous. This is obviously a mistake, or someone trying to frame me." "Are you suggesting Lena is framing you?" Mr. Grant's voice was icy. "I didn't say that," Garrett stammered, but the smug confidence was gone. "Then you should have no problem cooperating with a full investigation," Mr. Grant concluded, his tone final. Garrett opened his mouth to protest, but the door swung open again. Ms. Carter stood there, her sharp eyes narrowing. "What's going on here?" Mr. Grant didn't look away from Garrett. "Perhaps it's time we shed some light on the shadows lurking in our team." And for the first time, Lena saw something she hadn't expected, fear in Garrett's eyes. The investigation that followed was thorough and swift. Lena found herself at the center of meetings and interviews, where she recounted every incident with clarity and courage. Colleagues who had once whispered behind her back began to speak up in her defense. The truth was undeniable. Garrett had been manipulating internal systems and spreading false rumors to undermine her. Days later, the hotel's board convened in the grand conference room. Lena sat quietly as Mr. Grant presented the findings. Garrett's attempts to sabotage her had been exposed beyond doubt. The room was heavy with tension as the final decision was announced. Garrett would be dismissed immediately. Relief and vindication washed over Lena, but her journey was far from over. The aftermath brought a new kind of challenge, rebuilding trust and navigating her evolving role. Some colleagues still eyed her with suspicion, but many more now approached her with respect and admiration. One afternoon, Mr. Grant invited Lena to his office. His demeanor was warmer, less formal than before. "Lena, your resilience has been remarkable. I want you to know the company recognizes your talents and dedication." He slid a promotion letter across the desk, officially appointing her as the hotel's Director of International Guest Relations. Lena's eyes welled with tears, but she kept her composure. This wasn't just a title, it was a testament to her perseverance and the value she brought. Her family was the first she called. Her youngest brother, Leo, cheered on the phone, proud beyond words. Lena knew this victory wasn't just hers, it was theirs. Walking through the hotel lobby now, Lena felt a profound sense of belonging. The once cold marble floors seemed warmer, the grand chandeliers brighter. She had transformed the space from a place of silent struggle to one of visible success. Her story spread beyond the hotel walls, inspiring many who felt invisible in their own lives. Lena became a symbol of courage, proving that talent and integrity could overcome even the toughest obstacles. In quiet moments, she still reflected on the nights spent studying under dim lights, the sacrifices made, and the doubts overcome. But above all, she cherished the truth she had fought to claim. Her voice mattered. Lena's journey was a powerful reminder that sometimes, the greatest battles are fought not in boardrooms or grand halls, but in the courage to stand up and be seen. As Lena stepped into the hotel lobby that morning, sunlight poured through the towering windows, casting a golden glow over the marble floors. The hum of activity was no longer a backdrop to her invisibility but a symphony where her presence was acknowledged and respected. Guests greeted her warmly, and staff members nodded with genuine smiles, a stark contrast to the cold indifference she had once faced. Her promotion had not only changed her position but shifted the entire atmosphere around her. The barriers that once confined her were slowly breaking down, replaced by opportunities to lead, inspire, and make a difference. Lena's role now allowed her to bridge cultural divides, welcome international guests with authenticity, and mentor others who felt overlooked. At home, her brothers looked up to her as a beacon of hope. She was proof that hard work and unwavering determination could rewrite one's story. Lena promised herself she would continue pushing boundaries not just for herself but for all those who struggled in silence. Reflecting on her journey, Lena realized the power of language was only part of her strength. More important was the courage to be seen and to claim her place unapologetically. Her story was about resilience, truth, and transformation, a testament to what happens when someone refuses to be defined by their circumstances. As the day unfolded, Lena paused near the grand staircase, her fingers tracing the smooth railing. The hotel was no longer just a workplace, it was a symbol of new beginnings and endless possibilities. She smiled softly, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing she was no longer invisible. Lena's journey from a quiet cleaner to a respected leader was a reminder that true strength comes from within, and sometimes, all it takes is one moment of courage to change everything. If Lena's incredible journey inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Real Life Stories New. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of real people overcoming real challenges. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that will move and motivate you. Remember, your voice matters, just like Lena's. Thanks for watching.